Hey guys, today I'm gonna show you a hummus recipe. I love hummus, great protein, great fat. You can add it to salad, sandwich, or wrap, it's super versatile. So I'm gonna show you the basic recipe, and then I'm gonna show you how you can jazz it up a few different ways. So this is a Cuisinart. You can also make hummus in a blender. The Cuisinart is just super efficient, but I know it can be a little scary to use because it's got, you know, a few parts and then the really sharp blade. I totally get it. Most of them have a safety feature, like this one won't actually turn on unless you have this snapped in. So they usually have a really good safety feature. But again, I've been using Cuisinart for years. I love it, I'm super comfortable with it. So just use whatever you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with a blender, totally fine. Okay, so the first thing you wanna do is garlic. Again, because I give my kid the food that I make for myself and my partner, I always tend to go a little bit less on the garlic, a little bit less on the salt and pepper, and then kind of jazz it up depending on who I'm giving it to. Some recipes call for 4 to 5 cloves of garlic. I'm gonna start with 3. This one's actually pretty big, so I might actually just start with 2.5. You wanna get that all nice and pureed before, like minced, before you get the rest of the stuff in. See that? It's like almost the size of 2 cloves. So let's do that. And then we can always add, you know. Lock it in place. Then this snaps down. And now we're gonna mince it. I've just gotten into the habit of covering it with my hand. It's what a lot of my chef friends do. So now, that garlic is pretty nice and minced in there, which is great. Okay, so now we're just gonna add the rest of the ingredients, blend it up, and your hummus is done. This recipe is so easy, I love it. This is a can of organic chickpeas that's drained. Some people add the liquid from the can into the hummus. I actually don't like that. So I pour the peas from the can in here, give it a rinse, you know, let the liquid come off, and this has been just kind of sitting on a towel for a few minutes. So that is 1 can of chickpeas, which is basically 2 cups. If you measure it out, it's about 2 cups. Then we're gonna do the juice from 2 lemons. This is my handy little citrus squeezer. I love this thing. You can just do 1.5 lemons if you want, if you don't want it, you know, as lemony, you know, but the chickpeas can really take all this lemon juice and it tastes really good. Now we're gonna do tahini. So tahini is basically just sesame seeds. It's like a sesame seed paste. I usually start with about 1/4 cup. And you can buy tahini at, you know, any health food store, but that's a great addition to hummus. And then, because you want it to have that nice smooth texture, you wanna add a couple of tablespoons of water. Some people will use, like I mentioned, the liquid from the can. But again, I'm just not a fan of it, so I use water. And then we're gonna do about a teaspoon of salt. So let's start with a teaspoon of salt, let's taste it, and then we'll see if we wanna add some. This is real salt. I usually, sorry, I'm just in the habit of, I always gotta put a little salt over the shoulder. I have some superstitions. Usually I like Himalayan salt, but I only have my Himalayan salt in a grinder, and to grind out a teaspoon takes forever. So other than that, I like to use real salt. Okay, let's blend this up and then we're gonna taste it. I have these little tasting forks that I use because I learned from Bobby Flay, if you're not chewing, you're not cooking. Okay, ready? I love this gadget, it's just so great. I make my pesto in here, jams in here, this thing's amazing. Okay, so now let's taste it. Tasting fork. I'm gonna add a little more lemon, and I'm gonna add a little more salt. And then I think we might actually be good to go. Okay, great, let's add a little bit more salt. But hummus is so easy. I mean, look, I store buy it a lot too. It's one of those things that you don't think that's easy to do, so you tend to just get in the habit of buying it at a store. But I gotta tell you, it makes such a difference. It's like granola. Granola, when you make it at home, It's always better, and I have a great recipe I'm gonna share with you soon. Okay, a little bit of salt for good measure. And here we go. You know what, I'm also gonna add a little bit of water just to smooth it out a little bit. I'm gonna add another tablespoon of water. Okay, let's taste. That's good. That's really good, you guys. So now what I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna transfer it to a little bowl, and I'm gonna show you 3 different ways you can jazz up the basic original recipe, and there's a few really cool fun things you can do with it. You can totally store it just like this. I also like to doctor things up a few different ways, so I'm gonna show you a few favorites in our household. 3 little glass dishes. Let's separate this into the dishes, and I'll show you the toppings that I like to do. This looks so good. The consistency is perfect. I normally would just lick this, but I'm not going to because, you know, trying to be polite right now. Okay, these are some pine nuts that I toasted. Pine nuts are, I love pine nuts. Anytime I make any kind of salad, I put pine nuts on it. But it's also really great on hummus. So one of the things I like to do, if you can tell they're a little brown, see that? So I just put them in a pan with a little bit of olive oil, and they toast super, super quickly, so you have to be careful. In about 1 to 2 minutes, they toast up, and the flavor comes out, and it's just so beautiful. It's so much better than using them raw. And then what we're gonna do is make a little kind of divot, because we're gonna pour a little bit of olive oil and drop some pine nuts in there. And a lot of brands actually sell their hummus at the store just like this. So a little bit of olive oil, just sprinkle some of the pine nuts right in there. So here's one example. I love this. It's so good. Adds a little bit of texture. It's super yummy. So there's one example that I would do. The next version I like to do is I like to mince up a red bell pepper and toast it up with a little bit of garlic. And I put it on the top just like with the pine nuts. So good. And then similarly, I do a jalapeno, which adds a little bit of heat with garlic. So I do 2 versions with peppers, which I'll show you. We don't need that much. I always like to peel it because the skin is a little bitter. So when you peel it, the inside gets really beautiful and sweet and cooks down, and it's awesome. So now I just cut this into strips and then give it a mince. I always tuck my thumb up and press my hand on the top of the knife just so you make sure your thumb doesn't get caught under there. So I'm gonna put that to the side. So now, just like with the red pepper, I like to peel the jalapeno because I find that it gets a little bit sweeter, again, when you take the skin off. And we're gonna take the seeds out. And then after you work with jalapeno, you always wanna wash your hands immediately. Don't rub your eyes, don't pee. Girls with the wipe, not a fun mistake to do that. Okay, moving on. Let's peel the jalapeno. Once you get a part of it off, then it's easier to, get to the rest because you kind of have to get something for the blade to kind of hook into, Okay, great. So now with the jalapeno, you want to get all those seeds out of there, okay? Because I've been, doing this for a while, I can just kind of slice them out. But you want to be really careful, obviously, with your fingers. And then once you get that out, you just kind of brush them out with your fingers, so now it's nice and clean. Nice mince. That's looking really good. This is minced garlic. So now we're just going to cook this up, 2 separate pans. I'm going to put half with the red pepper, half with the jalapeno, and I'm going to toast it up with a little bit of olive oil and butter. So here is the jalapeno garlic, a little bit of olive oil and butter. The garlic is toasting up really nicely. You have to be careful that it doesn't burn. So even on the lowest flame, it's still bubbling a lot. So I'll also just take it off the flame and let it keep cooking. And then over here, we have our red pepper cooking with garlic. Okay, great. These are almost done. Just like with the pine nuts and the olive oil, we're gonna make a little divot in the middle of the hummus. A little bit of olive oil on each one. And then we're gonna put our jalapeno mixture right into the middle of this one. And then we're gonna dump the red pepper mixture right into the middle of this one. That looks so pretty. Here are 3 variations on our hummus, and they all look absolutely beautiful. And as my mother taught me, you see food before you eat it. So it always has to look beautiful. Even though I love batch cooking and I'm all about food prep, I always want the meals that I reimagine to be beautiful. So these look so pretty. I'm so happy about this. My mother would be very proud. I hope you guys like this video. Subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications so you know when I put up a new one. And thank you so much for being here.